Hello, everybody. How's it going? I'm here to talk about the full moon in Aries. Yay, I finally got my stuff enough together to come live because it's been quite a tumultuous few weeks for me. One thing after the other. You get a cold and then you're under the weather and your computer glitches out because it's Mercury retrograde and uh just one thing after the other. So I don't know how you guys have been doing, but I hope well. Uh Mercury went direct recently, and it was interesting because Mercury direct was in Libra was something people were really excited about, and I was as well. And then the moon in Aries, which is full moon territory, this full moon's going to be in Aries, kind of put a damper on that. In fact, it was like more like an exclamation point on the energy of Mercury direct. Uh, Aries is about what we want, our desires, our needs, who we are, how we shine, how we're authentic, how we're uh, independent and autonomous, and all of these awesome, good things. But Mercury was in Libra. That's where it went retrograde. And Libra is about how we share with people and how we connect with people and how we cooperate. And that's been under a readjustment. And it's not just Mercury retrograde that's been in Libra. Mars is there and the sun is there. So it's drawing a lot of attention to how we communicate, how we balance our lives, how we keep the peace, and a lot of having to rethink how we do things, perhaps how we talk to others, how we function in our daily lives with the people that we live with, even coworkers, relationships of all sorts have been under this Libra retrograde and Martian energy. And of course, now that we're coming into this full moon territory, it's even more highlighted. So this is an axis in astrology. Everything in astrology works off of equal and opposite. So Libra's relationship to other Aries is me, and this full moon is on that axis. There's something special going on with this full moon, and that is Pluto is in Capricorn, and it's T squared to it. So it's not exact by degree. The full moon's at like 27 degrees, if I'm not mistaken. By the way, the full moon's exact in the morning, early. Yeah, we're talking like 9 a.m. ish. Forgive the lack of exact time, but I don't want to spend too much time checking out exactly the minute, but it's in the morning. Pluto's at 24 degrees. So Pluto is square this full moon loosely, but also square Mars. It will be exactly square Mars on Thursday. Pluto is power and intensity and power balances. In Capricorn, this is what we let have power and authority over us, or how we're in our own power and authority. Capricorn is authority, it's mastery. And it's also the government and rules that we have and boundaries that we have. Pluto's been there for quite a while. And this full moon says, "Hi, Pluto." And we think, what has power over us, especially in relationship? And can we be our authentic self in relationship? That's Aries. So I find the fact that Pluto is pretty active during this full moon to be tense. So, full moons they're a heightened energy, they're a culmination. You hear people, nurses and police officers say that there's always a lot of activity during this full moon. I think especially so with this full moon. Mars is a malefic planet in traditional astrology. It can create problems. Okay. So it's like inflammation, it is agitation, it is angst. Now, of course, there's positives to Mars, there's motivation and passion, but it's been throwing the balance off a little, and especially it being in this square to Pluto. If I were you guys, and it's really hard for me to take my own advice, but I'm going to try. I would definitely do what you can to soothe nerves, even starting today and into tomorrow, and also allow yourself to feel emotions. You may feel triggered for this full moon. I don't want to write that into reality for everyone, but it could happen. You can also decide, you know what, I'm not going to take any more of that. I'm done with that. And then you lay down the law. That's Pluto and Capricorn. I'm getting rid of this. Now we're about to enter a season anyway where we get rid, we compost, we transmute. That's Scorpio season. That's coming soon. But this full moon, even though it's not in Scorpio, it's Libra, Aries, Pluto, and Capricorn, it still has that. It's time to start getting rid of some things. It's time to stop letting something have power and authority over us. Now, that can be, I want you to open your mind. It can be a habit. It can be, like I think of coffee and things of that nature. And I think I brought that up for some other Pluto transit that we just had. But yeah, things like that. Maybe things are weighing on you. Capricorn is responsibility. So all of those things are possibilities. Now, Mars is also today trying to Jupiter. So remember I said Mars is inflammation, motivation, passion, angst. Mars trying Jupiter just expands that energy. It's like, let's make it bigger. Okay, so Mars in Libra, it doesn't necessarily act as inflammatory as it would in Aries. Aries is Mars home. Libra is like passive aggressive, okay? But that can create some moments of explosion because of this for the full moon. The full moon is in Aries, is Mars home. So we have to think, if there has been that dancing around topics that, I just will keep my mouth shut to keep the peace, something around this full moon could say, I can't do that any longer, especially with Mercury going direct. Mercury also stationed direct opposite Chiron, which is the wounded healer. So it can be fairly sensitive. And that's just Mercury, not even counting the other stuff in Libra. So I think that's the biggest message I wanted to get across for this full moon, is that we are really asking ourselves, can we be authentic? Can we be ourselves in relationships? Do we need to change the rules? Do we need stronger boundaries? How do we go about this? The cardinal axis is very fundamental to people, and it's active. Cardinal acts on things. So this will make moves. Now, I want to speak a little bit about the Mars-Pluto cycle. I'm going to throw some dates at you because these have been extremely important to me since I've been doing research. Mars will come to its third quarter square on October 21st. That's Thursday. What is a third quarter square? It's the last adjustment part of a phase before the conjunction. Conjunctions are like new moons. First quarter squares are like the first half moon. Oppositions are like the full moon, and you can do this with any two planets, okay? So Mars and Pluto are reaching their third quarter square. This is a closing square of the cycle before Mars meets Pluto again in Capricorn. So this full moon is also filled with that archetype as well, the last adjustment. Mars is how we act, it's our will, it's our desires. Pluto is our deep power center. It's how we share ourselves with people. It's how we transform. So there's an adjustment there. How do I have to show up for people? Now, let me read the Sabian symbol really quickly before I go into these dates, because I was like, whoa, it hit me so hard. The Sabian symbol is a large audience confronts the performer who's disappointed its expectations. So this is the necessity for mature preparation and self-criticism. We see here the tangible results of a situation evoked by the two preceding symbols. Great hopes, excited expectations cannot be sustained. The issue is how we handle this situation. It's often a recurring situation in the life of an individual person. The manner in which it is met determines the individual's future possibilities of development and achievement. So what is implied here is the need to be more obsessed by potentiality and subjectively involved in the use of the new powers. So basically, this is a responsibility for what one's actions will produce in people who have been made to expect significant results. Okay, let's break that down for a second. What do you ask of people to expect of you? You are writing that into reality. You know, like I get so mad when people are seemingly expecting something of me, and I'm like, how can they expect so much of me? Have I asked for that a little bit? This is in no means in regards to something abusive. That is a completely different situation. But with Pluto, you could be talking about that. But what beyond that, in, maybe healthy-ish situations, what have you programmed into reality for people to expect of you? And you want them to expect that of you. Are you aware that you want them to expect that of you? And then when they do expect it of you, you get mad. I can't believe they expect that of me. All this work, all of this, whatever, money. It can be a lot of different things. So that is a question to ask. That's the Sabian symbol for the full moon. And I think it's really linked into this Mars-Pluto conjunction coming up in December, because that will be at 27 degrees exactly where this full moon is. So let's talk about the dates of the Mars-Pluto cycle. Mars and Pluto first joined together March 23rd of 2020. Does that date ring a bell to anybody? March 23rd of 2020? Right. That's exactly when the world began to blow up. That was Mars-Pluto. Also, Saturn and Jupiter were there in Capricorn. Crazy, right? Capricorn's the structure, the foundation. Pluto is transformation, transforming our structures and foundations. Basically, the Tower card. That's when Mars and Pluto came together. Now, the next dates, hopefully I'll list these in the comments somewhere, and also when I upload the YouTube video, because these dates are important, and they have hit me like, oh, this is significant in my life. So hopefully in yours as well, you'll find it just as significant. August 13th of 2020, Mars moved into Aries. These are cardinal signs: Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, all cardinal. Pluto's in Capricorn. Anything in these cardinal signs will make a tense square. It's action-oriented tense. It's like maybe sometimes creative, tension. Sure, it causes us to have to resolve it. The first quarter square to Pluto was Mars in Aries, August 13th, 2020. Mars went retrograde in Aries. This was a big deal in 2020. It lasted for quite a while, and it was so full. If you look back, I'm not good enough to journal. I wish I was, but if you look back, it was such a full time, and we're collectively really, I think, looking at how much we've been through. It's not been very easy. So October 19th, 2020, Mars was retrograde, and it squared Pluto in Aries still. Mars is still in Aries. So August 13th, 2020, October 19th, 2020, and then December 23rd, 2020, Mars had gone direct in Aries and squared Pluto again. This is just the first quarter square, the opening square, the first adjustment, and it was an adjustment. This was like, I think, what, bringing the tower down. That's what this really was like. Mars opposed Pluto. This is like the full moon phase, but with Mars and Pluto, June 25th of 2021. Mars is in Cancer. Cancer is about how we nurture ourselves, how we emote and feel emotion and process emotion. So June 25th, 2021. And interestingly, didn't we go into a weird summer there where the COVID cases went back up? Seem to remember that. I don't know if that aligns, but the third quarter square of Mars to Pluto is Thursday. This Thursday, October 21st. This is the closing phase. And then Mars will move to join up with Pluto one last time in Capricorn, March 3rd, 2022 at 27 degrees, what I just read the Sabian symbol for. Here's the thing. Mars is not going to do this again, conjoin Pluto come together with Pluto again in Capricorn, in a cardinal sign until 2067. This is March 3rd is shutting it down. Now, there will be cardinal squares and cardinal oppositions, but no more cardinal conjunctions. Pluto is about to move into Aquarius in 2023, and that is a huge deal. Outer planetary movements are big for the collective, for everyone. They're big for large scale ideas, events. You will see Pluto moving into Aquarius being a palpable change, I think, in power structure. That's again in March 2023. But this March 2022 is the last Mars Pluto conjunction in Capricorn. So those dates are all very important. What does Mars represent? It's our desire to live, to be. It's being here authentically. Pluto is power and transformation. So that our inner nature, our very nature of existence, has been under a major, major transformation. And that goes for everybody. Now, it's very important to pay attention to where this stuff is in your chart. So I'm going to read through the rising signs for this full moon in Aries. Aries is important because it's Mars's home. It's the home of Mars. And it is, I think, this full moon, especially at 27 degrees, reflective of when Mars will conjoin Pluto at 27 degrees of Capricorn. I need to look up the Sabian symbol for the 27 degrees of Capricorn. So let me read through the rising signs. Let's see, where are they? Where have I put them? I had them up somewhere. I hope you guys are doing good. Here they are. Okay. So the full moon in Aries by rising sign. Aries, this is about yourself, independence, and identity, because Aries rising means Aries is on your first house. The first house is self. If you guys don't ever look at anything in astrology, please learn the signs on your houses. And it starts with your rising sign. It is so good for applying astrology to your life. It's so important to know what your rising sign is. That's your first house. That's your identity. So this full moon in Aries for Aries risings is very much about who you are, how you appear to the world, how people see you, what your identity is, what independence means to you. If we think about it, Pluto in Capricorn is in your 10th house, career, public reputation. That's been transforming a lot. You know, where am I headed? What's my direction? Also, I'd say mastery and authority. Libra is your 7th house, relationships. So these are the 3 things that are under major adjustment right now. Probably having to do a lot of adjustment with relationships. It's all cardinal risings. This goes for all cardinal risings. Aries, Cancer, Capricorn, my poor brain, Libra. I don't know why I almost left you out. This is the axis of self, career, relationship, and home and family. So this is going to be affecting all of that for you. Taurus rising. This is in your 12th house. It's about release, retreat, spirituality. That means Libra in your 6th house of health and routine has been undergoing maybe rethinking, maybe being a little exacerbated by Mars there. So routines, health, ritual, that sort of thing has been undergoing a rethinking with Mercury retrograde. Pluto is going to be in your 9th house in Capricorn. And that is what is true to me. Basically, do I let my the things that I say I believe have control over me, or do I need to open my mind and change it a little bit? Maybe my beliefs are changing. Oh wait, I am right about that, right? Your 9th house. Let me make sure. I have to consult my software. Yeah, that's correct. So that's for Taurus rising. So yeah, very fundamentally about what you believe about reality, and it's very spiritual, and also probably has a lot to do with health and routine for you. This full moon is like downloading new programming for Taurus risings. All right, for Gemini risings, this is in your 11th house of goals, friend groups. So that's where you could see some illumination, some culmination, maybe some exacerbation, maybe some inflammation. It could also be in your 5th house of children, creativity, and inner child. That's where Mercury retrograde was. That's where Mars and the Sun is, your 5th house. That is what I find enjoyable. That's the 5th house. Pluto's in your 8th house. This is very deep. It's your root chakra. It's how I share myself with people. Those 3 things are undergoing adjustments. When one has to adjust, the other has to adjust. I would venture to say this has a lot to do with boundaries for you, Gemini rising. There could also be some things with business partnerships, because that's also an 8th house topic, and inheritance, taxes, money. That could also be featuring for you. You're thinking of different goals, maybe even new friend groups, in order to bring some balance to the rest of your life. Maybe more enjoyment, maybe more financial security. Okay, Cancer rising. Again, you're a cardinal rising sign. This is in your 10th house of career. That's where you're really wanting to illuminate, to shine your light, to be yourself. Libra is in your 4th house of home and family. So there's been a lot probably of work, reworking in your home life. I'm a Cancer rising. This has been very true for me. I've been working at home since that first Mars-Pluto conjunction. So is my partner. Pluto's in Cancer rising 7th house, my 7th house. So there's no better teacher than when you see someone going through it. I'm a Cancer rising. Pluto's in my 7th house of relationships. That's where I've had to do a lot of transformation. We are having to use this as a learning curve and have a completely new relationship based on the fact that Libra, we're having to work together in our homes. Aries career. You see how this works? Full moon. And I actually had a come apart. So this is a like little personal story time. I had to come apart because I've been creatively blocked, maybe because I'm working at home. Maybe because of all the other responsibilities of my home life, my family life. The house is a mess. I got to run my kids to school and to volleyball and all of this. And I really want to push forward in my career. And you know what? It's putting pressure on the relationship. I'm very lucky to have a workable relationship where we can figure that out and talk it out and have it out and then move forward and figure out how to make it equitable and workable for everyone. But it did take that moment. And that moment came for me yesterday. The moon moved into Aries yesterday. We're probably already all experiencing this. So if you're a Cancer rising, you could be having similar things go on. Now, it may look different for you depending on your chart, but those are the themes. Okay, Leo rising. This full moon is in your 9th house of belief, truth, adventure. And I think you're pushing for maybe a different way of being in reality. Pluto's in your 6th house of it's everyday life, routine, work, like what you do for money, health. And then Libra's in your 3rd house. So this is where the Mercury retrograde is. How do I make decisions? How do I think? How do I communicate? So you may have been taking in new information, or maybe keeping the peace by not communicating your truth. This full moon in Aries is like, speak your truth, dear. And there's likely some pressure or some intensity, some transformation going on in your daily life and routine. And depending on your chart, what that might mean for you. But please weigh in if these rising sign delineations are hitting for you. I'd like to know. So yeah, what you believe about the world, philosophy, higher education, those are all 9th house topics. And then the way I think and communicate and my routines and daily life. Okay, Virgo rising. This is in your 8th house. The 8th house is the shadow house. It's not all that bad. So let's see. Empowerment, shared resources. You know, another 8th house topic can be sexuality. And I think that's just because it's shared resources. How do I share myself? And that includes my body and my money. That's the 8th house. Now, Libra is in your 2nd house of self-worth, finances, values. What do I find comfortable? That's where the Mercury retrograde was for you. So, you could have been suppressing or even, feeding yourself, keeping the peace by buying things or by needing to save or by thinking of all the ways you can increase your worth, right? Well, Pluto is in your fifth house. That's inner child work. That is what I enjoy, good fortune, creativity. So it's likely finances and self-worth and how I share myself with others has been pressure on that fifth house. Your inner child needs a little attention, Virgo risings. I think that's definitely true. But also, it's important for you to think about what you want. I think that's the bigger message here. And speak up about it. No one's going to read your mind. Mercury retrograde in your second house, you may have been like, I'm not going to say what I want. Or maybe you've been too vocal about what you want. It could be opposite. But I have a feeling for Virgo risings, knowing a few Virgo risings, that this is about speak up for what you want. No one can read your mind. And say, I don't want that, if you don't want it. It's about drawing boundaries and letting people know who you really are. I think that's what's important. All right, Libra rising. Oh, wow. This is about you, your relationships, your home and family. So again, cardinal rising, this is going to be about identity, relationship, and for Libra rising, heavy on the home and family part because Pluto is in your fourth house. The full moon's in your seventh house of relationship. So that's what's going to be culminating where the energy is going to be most noticeable is in the seventh house of relationship. Mercury retrograde was in your first house. Maybe, you were dampening down who you are to keep the peace at home or to keep the peace in your relationship. But again, sort of like Virgo risings, it's like, hey, you need to communicate who you are and what you want with people, especially if you want your home life, if you want to feel like you have personal authority there, emotional security. You have to speak up about who you are, what you are, and say, this is me, this is my authentic self. And maybe with Mercury retrograde in Libra, you've been questioning who you are. What do I want? That could all be the case. This full moon in Libra should show you quite a bit. I'm sorry, full moon in Aries should show you, especially in the realm of relationships. So, what you can have is someone saying, why do you wear that? And it triggers you, right? This is on your first seventh house axis and fourth house. So you could be triggered emotionally by not feeling accepted by someone. And this is your chance to speak out and say, this is who I am and I love who I am and I'm confident in who I am and I have my own emotional security. My power center is here in my body, in me. That's what this is about for you. All right, Scorpio risings. Oh yeah, cadent houses, 12th house, 6th house. So for you, the full moon in Aries is in your 6th house of health and routine and daily life, and that's what's going to be highlighted. The Mercury retrograde was in your 12th house of spirituality. It's pretty abstract where this is happening for you. But the full moon in the 6th house is not as abstract. This is like reality. The 6th house is your everyday life. What is abstract is the spiritual changes you've been undergoing. Mercury is retrograde in a very spiritual area. I call it the place of downloads, maybe reflection. So you've been doing heavy spiritual introspection over the last Mercury retrograde. Pluto's in your 3rd house. This is about trusting yourself and your decision making. And I think it will show up in your daily life. So communicating your authority in your daily life, maybe at work, maybe in your routine, maybe you need to start showing up for yourself and saying, I trust myself. I trust the decisions I'm making. That's what it's about for you, Scorpio risings. Authority when you speak. And then also, okay, maybe I'm having some spiritual downloads and it's making me feel a little spacey, a little depressed. 12th house stuff can be quite depressing. And you don't even know why. 12th house can be very difficult. This full moon is like, okay, it's in the routine. It's in the health. That's where you need to be focusing. I've also heard the sixth house called the place of true calling. The sixth house also rules pets. If any of that means anything to you, take note. Okay, Sagittarius rising. This is in your place of good fortune. The fifth house, inner child, joy. And I think that's what you're really trying to get out of life. The Mercury retrograde was in your 11th house. That's goals, friend groups. That's what you've been rethinking. Perhaps over the Mercury retrograde, I feel like a lot of us kept quiet or tried to like just keep the peace, or maybe experience some sort of passive aggressiveness in some way, or felt like people were pulling on you, perhaps. And this is like, hey, let loose, have fun. That's what this full moon is. You know, you've thought about your goals, you've tweaked things, you've done all the work to get friend groups together, to get the community together. This is like, all right, let loose, have fun, let your inner child shine for a minute. Pluto's in your second house of self-worth and finances. Something there could be like showing you, you have so much. You are so lucky. You can have fun, Sag Risings. Like you are so lucky. I know a few, and you're doing really, really good right now. And I'm so happy for Sag Risings right now because it's been quite a thorough deconstruction, reconstruction, and now it's like, here you go, time for fun. So I hope you get to have it for this full moon. All right, so Capricorn risings, more cardinal rising signs. This is again identity, career, home, and family. The full moon is in your home family area. And that's where this full moon will culminate, will shine its light. So you could have some things with home changing, could be your family as well. The Libra Mercury retrograde was in your 10th house of career and public reputation. So you could be rethinking something there and going, you know, do I really want to be this for the rest of my life? Do I really want to do this for the rest of my life? What brings meaning to my life? Pluto's in your first house of identity, really transforming who you are as a person and how you show up and how you speak your own authority, especially in career. His full moon in Aries is like, maybe it's the home and family that's the key, you know? I would also like to know what's going on for Cap risings. I'm a Cancer rising. We're like mirroring each other. So I would expect it to show up most though in career and home for you, career and family. All right, Aquarius risings. This is in your third house. Demetra George calls the third house the house of the goddess. More modern interpretations are communication, siblings, community, short trips. You know, I like the house of the goddess. So the full moon is there. I like this area for decision making. So if you've been questioning what you believe, because Libra's in your ninth house, what do I believe about reality? What path do I want to be on? I call the ninth house a choose your own adventure house. That's where Mercury is retrograde. So you've been rethinking your own truth and beliefs there. This full moon is like, you have enough info now. Make the decision. Pluto's in your 12th house, spiritual downloads, spiritual messaging, retreat, reflection, complete butterfly in a cocoon energy for Aquarius risings. So it's like, you know what you need to do. It's time to take the steps and do it. That's what this full moon is saying. All right, for Pisces risings, this full moon is in your second house of finances. Again, pretty good. I like it. Mercury retrograde was in your 8th house of business partnerships. And so you could have been, you know, rethinking what contracts are, how I share myself. It's also other people's money, right? So maybe doing, I like to call Mercury retrograde a time of research as well. Pluto is in your 11th house, goals, friend groups. That's been transforming since 2020. Maybe exactly what you wanted out in the world has completely changed. And you know what? For the better. And part of that is the Mercury retrograde. I've learned to renegotiate my contracts. I'm worth so much more. This full moon is like, you are worth so much. And I hope you realize that for this full moon. And there may come a point where you need to say, hey, I'm not taking it anymore. Like, if my goals have to be different, I just need you to know this is what I'm worth. So I hope all Pisces risings have a really nice financial windfall. And you Sag risings as well. You're doing real good. Doing real good. The week upcoming is it's just dominated by this full moon that starts in the morning. Today, the moon's in Aries. It will sextile Jupiter later, and that's a pretty nice energy. Jupiter is always a benefic. It does also oppose Mars at the same time, which can be, this is what I'm talking about. It can be explosion, because Mars can exacerbate feelings when it's opposite the moon. That's later tonight, Tuesday the 19th. With Jupiter there, it's like fall back on your philosophies, fall back on the bird's eye view. What is your goal? Is it worth the explosion? Is there a different way to do it? Fall back on the innovation of the Aquarius energy there. Of course, the full moon is in the morning. And then very quickly by Wednesday evening, the moon has moved into Taurus territory. And then it will start to activate the fixed signs. And that's just a whole other rabbit hole. But I think that we can think in terms of how our values have been shifting starting Wednesday. It'll activate those fixed signs. Moon and Taurus, not going to do too much except for we will have a square to Saturn first, right off the bat. That's Thursday morning. That can be it can feel like responsibility and obstacles, but it will quickly hit Uranus there Thursday evening. Yeah, and that's emotional freedom, emotional epiphany. Now, at the same time, Mars is coming into square Pluto. So we still have this full moon energy. The moon is just in Taurus now, bringing attention to our value system and what we truly want in our lives, what means the most to us. Friday, the moon squares Jupiter. It won't try on anything. Friday seems a little more quiet. Moon square Jupiter is not usually, like, it's just big feelings, maybe emotional adjustment based on beliefs, but I don't look at this as like a big bad deal. Venus, let's see, what's Venus doing? Venus is in Sagittarius right now, which really does lend itself to optimism, so I'm glad for that. But it's not making many connections that truly matter right now either. So Friday seems pretty quiet. It's like we're synthesizing on Friday. That's a good way to put it. We're really, especially emotionally and in our belief system, synthesizing. Saturday, moon's in Gemini. We get intellectual, chatty. It's probably going to be an active day of communicating, but let me not forget that the sun moves into Scorpio Friday just after midnight. This ushers in Halloween season. This ushers in Samhain. It ushers in the transmutation energy, the time for the composting. And then, it's still a couple of quiet days, even though the sun moves into Scorpio, starts to activate the fixed signs. It doesn't hit anything for the first few days, but I still think, it'll be a palpable change with the sun moving into Scorpio. And then the moon moving into Gemini. So again, all about communication. Scorpio season is nice for a lot of people. So I guess it just depends on your nature for how that's going to feel for you. Sunday, let's see here. I felt like there was something big Sunday. The moon opposes Venus. Again, not a bad transit. One of balance, sure. One of intellectual and philosophical musings, absolutely. Probably a really good day to communicate needs and bring balance to situations, but just be aware that the moon is square Neptune in Pisces, which can be a need to escape and like confusion. Overall, I think the weekend looks pretty sweet. That's how I feel. Now, Monday, it's a little different. We there's some activity starting next week. Monday, the moon's still in Gemini. It trines Mars and Libra. So that's productive energy, especially intellectually and communication wise. So the ability to communicate, listen, plan your day first thing in the morning. The moon moves into Cancer in the evening, and it will immediately trine the sun in Scorpio. And that could turn our focus inward. Venus is approaching a square to Neptune today, so that gives the quality of this Monday, the 25th, pretty magical, maybe escapist, overindulgent perhaps, feelings. And it's also approaching a sextile with Jupiter, which can be overindulgent. So I would say Monday, ground yourself in reality and don't allow yourself to be too overindulgent with money or love. Especially with the sun in Scorpio, it's like it can be obsessive. So I would just watch yourself Monday the 25th for overindulgence, or like, I have to have this. Maybe if you can put the brakes on that, that will be nice. And of course, the sun will eventually next week square Saturn, which will put the brakes on it even if you wanted to be overindulgent. So that does it for me for this full moon in Aries, and Mars square Pluto on Thursday, and all the big goody things. I do have a written version on my blog, on my website, and I will upload this video to YouTube if you want to go back and see what your rising sign, the message was, and all the love. I really appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in.